Welcome to the Extreme Authority Podcast with Aaron Huey and Robert Raymond Riopel.
Well, all I'm going to say about this episode of Extreme Authority, you want to talk extreme authority, that's this guest, Dr. Andre Norman, 105 years, life sentence, to all of a sudden becoming a fellow at Harvard. During this interview, I want you to have a pen and paper ready because, like Aaron and I, we were taking so many notes because of the gold that's being dropped. I don't know how many versions or how many episodes we're going to turn this one into because there's so much in depth. Don't just be there. I want you to totally be present and actually be there for this interview. Aaron, would you agree?
He said, are you harboring a victim? And how harboring a victim reflects on you. Now, whether that's during incarceration or in business or just as you are building your authority, it's just one of the notes I'm walking away with. And of course, I'm internalizing. Which part of my own victimhood in authority am I harboring? And what do I have to do to break the relationship with that victim part of myself? The conversation he talked about being in Europe and doing his first corporate event, talking about dealing with things in prison, Harvard, the absolute opposite ends of the spectrum that is pulled together in philosophy by Andre. This conversation is a game changer. Welcome to the Extreme Authority Podcast. Our guest today is Andre Norman. You held authority where the cost of a bad decision wasn't embarrassment or loss of followers. It was death. So what does authority mean when the stakes are that high? And what part of that definition still lives in you today?
Well, I grew up in a culture in prison. It was a simple, basic concept. Get it right or die. There wasn't a lot in the middle. Get it right or die. And there's multiple ways to die in prison. You can physically die by somebody killing you. You can get sexually assaulted. You can get violently beaten. I'm saying you can be thrown into a cell where you just go crazy. So there's multiple ways of dying. So that's the world I come from, where everybody, you got 2,000 guys running around the building all day looking for weakness, looking for an angle to get at somebody and to take advantage of somebody. So when you project weakness, people attack. Passivity invites aggression. And in prison, there's a lot of aggressive people. So for me, understanding the premise of get it right or die, it forced me into being a better person and being a serious person. When I first got to prison, I was kind of jokey. I was a young kid. I had that young energy in me. 2 stories I'll share with you. The first, I get off the bus. They say, who are you with? Where are you from? I said, I'm from this neighborhood. They say, okay, you with those guys because they're from your neighborhood. I get with these guys. There's about 20 of them. They're from the same neighborhood. They know my older sisters and brothers, and we're all from the same place, same community. So I'm running with these guys every day. Then one day I made a mistake. And they said, hey, they took me to the yard. I said something. They had threatened to do something to somebody and had to take it back because I misspoke. So my actions caused them to look weak because they threatened somebody and they couldn't follow through, which is a weakness in prison. It took us a bump on their head. So they took me out to the yard the next day. They took me to the part of the yard where they kill people, way at the back by the handball court. And I got these 20 guys standing there talking about what my punishment should be. Should we stab them? Should we beat them? Should we this them? I'm like, what? They're talking about me. My first inclination was to run because what they were talking about was scary. And I looked at who I was with that I really never paid attention before. I had 20 men all doing natural life sentences in jail for murder. They were the top gang leaders in the state, the most violent people in the state. They were just neighborhood guys up until just now. And I realized who they were because they were looking at me as if I was going to get harmed. And they finished their debate. Then the big homie came to me and said, Andre, we're going to give you a pass this time. But we won't give you a pass the next time and know we handle our own. Meaning that they'll take care of me and they'll hurt me, whatever it's going to be. And when we walked off the yard together, I realized prison was not a plaything. It's not a summer camp. It's not a joke. That one misunderstanding or mistake, well, could have cost me my life. Fast forward 2 years. I got shipped out of the state of Massachusetts to the federal prison in Pennsylvania. They put me in a place called USP Lewisburg. It's one of the most dangerous prisons in the country. My first 30 days, I saw countless people sexually assaulted. There was 3 murders and about 20 stabbings. And I'm there, and I'm like, this is crazy. So the first night, my very first night in Lewisburg, 5 guys after count, sexually assaulted a man. And I'm sitting in my bunk listening to this. And it's crazy. And the whole unit is listening to what I'm listening to. So needless to say, I didn't go to sleep when it was all over. I stayed up as long as I could. In the morning, I went to one of the guys that been there. I'm like, yo, Rob, what's up? I said, what was that about? He said, that's what they do here. They assault people like that. I said, well, why did they assault him? They said, well, he projected weakness. I said, okay, well, how did they know he was weak? They said, well, it's the way you stand. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you respond. It's the way you move. If you project weakness, they'll attack you. And everything that he explained that was projected weakness, I had in me. So I'm like, I'm scared to death now. So I went in the corner. I'm like, let me work on my projected weakness. My being silly, my telling jokes, my playing around. Everything that he said on that list of things that were projected weakness, perceived as, that I had in me, I worked on getting rid of. And it took me about a week and a half of every single day, because every night somebody else got assaulted, which made me work harder the next day. Then somebody else got assaulted. It made me work harder the next day, getting rid of this projected weakness, so I never went on that list. And at the end of getting rid of all projected weakness, you know what I had left? Projected strength. It was a default. I wasn't trying to become strong. I just wasn't trying to be weak. So in getting rid of my weakness, I only had projected strength left. So now I'm moving in power and authority, and not just being dominant or aggressive, but my energy was that of an alpha person because I had no weaknesses. And you have to be in that space to live in the spaces that we were.
No kidding. And kind of a follow-up to that then, Andre, is because you were surrounded by that violence, that power struggles, the tribal hierarchy, what did prison teach you about real authority that leadership books still don't understand?
First off, it's not how tall you are, it's how tall you stand. That's the first thing. And how you carry yourself and how you communicate what you mean and how you say it matters. Because when you look somebody in their face and you make a promise or you make a pledge or you make a threat, you better be ready to carry it through. You can't just idly make up stuff. I've dealt with cultures where they'll just say yes for the sake of saying yes because they don't want to say no. But there's no consequence on the back end. In prison, there's a consequence because there's a 40-foot wall around this entire place and nobody's going anywhere. So whatever you do, say, or act on bounces back real fast and it comes straight at you. So what I learned was say what you mean, be ready to back it up, and there's no backing up. There's no backpedaling in prison. So you have to be able to be mindful, be cognizant, be thinking in advance of everything that's going on.
You've seen what absolute authority does to a man, both the rise and the collapse. What's the most dangerous myth people have about being a leader?
People believe that once you get the title, it's all over. Once you get the title of president, of CEO, of manager, whatever thing is, that is enough unto itself. When I became the prison boss, I was the highest ranking gang member in the state at a given time. And I controlled contraband, I controlled weapons, I controlled the biggest gang, I controlled a lot of stuff. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., I would wake up. The doors would open at 6:30. I got up at 5:30. And I would sit on the end of my bed, and I would say, not who wants to kill me today, but who's going to actually think they can try. Because since I controlled all the commerce, I controlled all the money, I controlled all the movement, everybody wants my job. And the way you get my job is to hurt me, stab me, kill me, whatever you want to call it. So every day, people around the prison says, I want Rob's job. I want Rob's job. I want Aaron's job. Imagine if they can get your job just by stabbing you 6 times because you weren't paying attention. And so every single day I would wake up and have to look at every variable that's moved through the prison in the last 24 hours. And I would say, who believes that they have an upper hand at trying to kill me today? And I had to know everybody who came in, everybody who left, everybody who changed units. Everybody. If I didn't catch this and stay informed, then the next day I would miss, and that'd give somebody an opportunity to take my job, which meant take my life.
How does that translate into what you do with Second Chance University? How do you I mean, that sounds more like trauma than a skill, but it's how you stay alive. So how do you use that in your daily business with Second Chance?
And I tell you, in prison, it wasn't trauma. It's just you better know your facts. If you want to be the boss, stuff comes with that. So as the boss, so hypothetically, there's 2 gangs at the other end of the prison. You got a gang, Robert got a gang. and y'all aren't together. But then a guy in your gang comes back. Your second in charge comes back, and he's with you, but he's Robert's cousin. And I know him because I've seen him around. He's kind of wild. He's over the top. He's really energetic. So when he comes back, he's going to realize that I run the prison, but him being in your gang, but Robert's cousin, can unite your gangs together, which will give you a gang big enough to attempt to take me over. So once they tell me John John's in Newman, he's going to come out and get with you. He's going to get in your ear. We need to get this money. We can knock Andre off if we unite with my cousin. So he's going to talk to you. He's going to go see his cousin, Rob, and y'all going to come, the three are going to come up with a plan to knock me off. Because now your forces have doubled. I saw you as two separate gangs yesterday, 40 and 40. Now you're 80, which is big enough to knock me off. So what I would do, once I realized this, I would get up, take my team, and I'd come see you. I'd come right to your cell, Aaron, and you'd be like, hey, Dre, what's up? And you would see I got 5 hitmen with me. I'd be like, listen, your cousin, your second in charge just got here. He's going to come back out in the population. He's going to try to tell you that you should get with his cousin and kill me and take over my space. So I got 2 choices. I can wait for you or come see you first. And I'm like, how are we going to do this? And you know your man's going to come out with the craziness. So we would come to an understanding that you're not going to roll with that. Then I would leave your cell and I'd go to Robert's cell. Like, yo, your cousin just got back. He's going to try to convince Aaron. Then they're going to come kind of convince you that you should knock me off and y'all take my space. How are we going to do this? Then me and Robert will come to an understanding. You both will give your word that you're not going to roll with that. Then we go down to Newman and we'll see your cousin. And I tell him the same thing. Now, all 3 of you, not wanting to die in the instant, will agree to not move on that.
So is this just you approaching the conflict first in business?
100%.
Okay. So you're just saying if there's going to be conflict, you're going to hit it first.
If someone's going to die, it's not going to be me. So if someone's going to die, it's not going to be me. So I would say to you, Aaron, your friend, we're cool, but I know what's coming. So I can either wait for you to come try to get me or I can get you first. It's nothing personal. Then you be like, Dre, I hear you. I ain't going to do that. I give you my word. Now, the thing is, once you both give me your word, all 3 of you, now everybody knows what's happening. You can't go back on your word because your own team won't respect you. Because they're going to say, when he came to see you, you stood down. Now, you can't play tough later. So I would just have a conversation on the front end. I would do that every single day.
How do you teach that then to your Second Chance University guys, that they're still in that energy?
What I teach the guys is how to take their skill set of reading people, of reading situations, of being fearless, not caring about living or dying. And I show them how to apply it to a new skill, into a new space. So right now, I'm trying to figure out AI. It's scary. It's a whole new field. It's a whole new space. Everybody in it doesn't look like me. So I'm trying to figure out all these nuances. But I know on the other side of that is a win. So I have to be willing to go through the fear and apprehension of learning a new skill in a new space where I technically don't belong. And whatever the storyline is, I will tell myself and fight through to the other side. And I have to collaborate with people who might not be from my team. And I have to find out, if I don't get this right, what happens? I starve to death. Not technically, but that's the energy. So I approach everything, get this right or die.
So, Andre, when did you then first decide that your future had the right to outweigh your sentence?
I was in prison, and I was in a situation where I was about to harm some people. And it just came to me. My goal when I first came in, I was number 20,000 on the list of 20,000 prisons, at the bottom of the list. And I fought my way from number 20,000 to number 3. And I had the opportunity to become the number 1 guy in the system, which was my goal and my dream. When I got there, I saw it for what it was. I was about to become the king of nowhere. It's like Dorothy went all the way down the Yellow Brick Road. When she got to Oz, everybody loved Oz. Everybody loved the wizard, and she pulled the curtain back and saw it was all make-believe. I pulled the curtain back to prison gang life, and I saw it was all make-believe. Now think about it. Everybody in Oz is happy. Everybody in Oz loves their place. Nobody's trying to change anything. Dorothy went past her place, and she pulled the curtain. And when I pulled the curtain on prison gang boss, I saw it for what it was. I was going to become the king of nowhere. I said, I didn't want to be this, so I went back to my cell. I said, I don't want to be the king of nowhere, but what do I want to be? My first thought was free. I want to be free. For 6.5 years, I never thought about freedom, only thought about being a king. I said, I want to be free. Then I did my next step. What does freedom look like? I looked at the white guys, the black guys, the Spanish guys, the kitchen workers, the guys who went to church, the guys who went to mosques, the guys who did this, who did that. Nobody got free and stayed free. I realized free didn't work for anybody because free is just a parking lot. I can spend the next 10 years planning on getting free, and as soon as I step foot outside of the prison, I've achieved my goal. My goal is too shallow. So I said, I don't want to be free because free people come to prison. I want to be successful because successful people don't come here. So I said, to be successful, I need to go to college, get a degree of some sort. And I said, well, I'm going to pick a school, and I picked a school called Harvard University. I said, I'm going to go home, go to Harvard, be successful, end the story. And everybody told me it couldn't happen and why it couldn't happen. And I was black, and I was a gang member, I was a high school dropout, I was from a poor family. They told me all the reasons I couldn't go to Harvard. I went back in my cell. I looked in my mirror. I said, what's inside of me that's stopping this dream from happening? I made a list. I'm black. I'm a gang member. I'm violent. I'm angry. I'm saying I'm illiterate. I just made the list. Then I said, okay, I got my list of what's in my way. I went back to school and got my GED. I went to anger management classes. I started going to mental health classes. I went to substance abuse classes, even though I don't use drugs, but everybody around me does. I need to learn how to communicate. I went to the law library and I taught myself the law because I was inside doing a lot of time. I overturned my case on appeal. I taught myself patience. I taught myself resiliency. And I sit here today, a Harvard fellow, in spite of what people who didn't believe that they couldn't do try to project onto me.
You know, so many people get to success in safe or relative safe environments. But you did this in an environment that's designed to strip a person of their humanity. So what I want to know is, how did you maintain enough of yourself to rebuild into the man you are now? And what piece of humanity in you almost didn't make it?
The way I became who I am today, I am a sum total of all my mentors, full stop. So my first mentor was an Orthodox Jewish rabbi. I met him by chance, and we sat down, and he started teaching me. I didn't know he was a rabbi. He was just a cool guy teaching classes. I'm going to class for like a month with this man every Wednesday night. And somebody said, why are you going to Jewish services, Andre? I said, what are you talking about? They said, you're going to Jewish services. I said, what's that? There's no Jewish people in my neighborhood. There's no rabbis where I come from. He said, the guy you're going to see, he's the rabbi. I said, what is that? He said, he's Jewish. I said, well, what is that? Because I really didn't know. So it didn't matter. He taught me how to be respectful, how to be resilient, how to be resourceful, how to be helpful, how to be a servant. That man taught me how to be human. Nobody ever took the time to teach me to be human. My uncles taught me how to be Bam Bam. The homies taught me how to be Bam Bam. Everybody in the hood taught me how to be Bam Bam. Just bang them in the head. That's all they taught me. Bang them in the head, right? This man taught me how to be intentional, how to be sincere, how to be a value add to the world. Nobody ever taught me that. And he taught me that. Then I had another mentor, Father Martin from St. Basil's in Methuen. I sat with him. Then there was two nuns, Sister Ruth and Sister Kathleen. Then there was Deacon John. Then there was all the people. There was a guy named Gordon Haas, who was a lifer. There was an old white guy doing forever, never getting out, and he's still there. And I started listening to the people who were actually doing something, whether it was incarcerated or not. If you had good integrity and good spirit and you had something positive to say, I would listen. And then inside, I had a ton of mentors. A guy named Pat Dempsey used to come up. And I used to listen to these people. And I believed in them while they believed in me, so I could believe in myself. I didn't just automatically believe that I could be a great, positive person. They saw the good in me. They saw the value in me. They saw the potential in me, and they spoke to it. So I listened to them. And the backdrop of that was, well, how do I trust these people? How do I know what they're saying is true? Then I went back to my teachers, Miss Oliver, Miss Chin, Mr. Bevilacqua, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Solis, Miss Henderson, Miss Lane, all my teachers from school who I know love me, who I know would do anything for me, had said the same exact thing. So I could correlate what these new mentors are saying versus my old mentors. And I knew it was the right thing, and I stayed on course. And that's how I got to be who I am. Because Andre's way is Bam Bam. Andre's way is quitting. See, I learned this in therapy. My counselor told me, you're a professional quitter, Andre. He said, your father walked out when you was in the first grade. You equated that to him quitting. So now you think quitting is okay. So when anything gets hard or tough or pushy, you just walk away. If something doesn't go the way you want it, you walk away. If it gets too emotional, you walk away because that's what your dad did. And I look throughout my life, I quit on sports. I quit on academics. I was my high school's first ever foreign exchange student, went to Europe. I quit on exchange student scholarships. I quit on everything that got too hard or got too sincere or too close to my heart. So he showed me how not to be a quitter. We identified where it came from. We worked on that part of my personality. And once I got the quitter out of me, now I can complete GED. Now I complete my law studies. Now I can complete programs. Now I'm a licensed chef from inside. I can complete things. I didn't know my biggest drama or biggest issue was I was a quitter. You couldn't have paid me to tell me I'm going to go hard, thug. I'll run through a brick wall. Running through a brick wall doesn't mean you're not a quitter. Surface kind of jail doesn't mean you're not a quitter. Because when push came to shove, I quit on everything when I look back. Now that I fixed that, quit ain't in my life. That's why I'm able to complete things. See, getting involved is one thing, completing is another.
You know, your story from going from prison to Harvard and becoming a fellow, I love that story. And the question I have for you then is, when you did get to Harvard, did Harvard validate you, or did you walk in already knowing that you had something Harvard needed?
When I finally got to Harvard, when I first came home, I ended up at Harvard. I started teaching and helping and doing programs and seminars at Harvard. And it was fun. It was like, wow, I'm really here. Fast forward, there's a gentleman named Dr. Charles Ogletree. He's the man that raised up Michelle and Barack Obama and a lot of other great people from the law school. He saw the work that I was doing in Ferguson, Missouri. In Ferguson, Missouri, there's a young man who died by the hand of the police named Michael Brown Jr. It started the Black Lives Matter movement. And for 18 months, there was riots and protests in the city of Ferguson. They called me. I flew into Ferguson with local business people from YPO and EO. I go in with them, and we shut down the riots. Harvard had watched this from afar, and everybody wanted to fix Ferguson, but nobody could. Every celebrity, every politician, everybody went to Ferguson, but none of them could get a win. Andre Norman went to Ferguson and got a win. So they called me and said, hey, we want to work with you. So I brought the mayor of Ferguson, the police chief of Ferguson, the man who ran for the governor of Missouri, 3 protesters, and we all flew to Harvard University, and we did a seminar. And Harvard got to do a seminar around Ferguson because it was the hottest topic at the time. And based on that, they gave me a fellowship. They said, we want to work with you. You don't need to apply here. We see you. We want to work with you. And they brought me in. They gave me a little desk. It was like 4 of us at the desk, but it was my desk. I had 4 little interns, right? I'm like, this is my desk. Like, whatever you say, Dre. I had a desk with my name on it, and I had an email. It was A. Norman at HSL, harvardlawschool.edu, and I got the email, and I cried. Because I got there. You know what I'm saying? I got there.
Because of this, how did you keep your street instincts from becoming your prison in elite spaces? Because now in Harvard, you're in elite spaces.
Oh, listen. If you can survive the penitentiary, surviving Harvard is easy. A lot of those folks are passive aggressive. They talk too much. They over communicate. They want to tell you about 20 books that they read. Not impressive. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, what is the outcomes? What are the measurables? What is the pathway? How are we going to get this done? How do we decide what a win is? I know in prison what a win was. I'm alive when we made some money. What is a win out here? What do we want to do? And when you get people in the room, the first time I get my boss, I had a boss. I used to go out and give speeches all the time, and I was good at it, I thought. Then one day he had a speech at Harvard University. This is early on, and he couldn't go. So he said, hey, Andre, you're going to go for me. So the GM called me, hey, Dre, you got to go speak for the boss. Okay. You got to speak at Harvard. Okay. He said, the talk's on consumerism. I said, oops. He said, what's the problem? I said, I don't know what that means. So they literally got in the car, came to my house, pulled the dictionary out, read the definition of consumerism to me, then put me in the car with my buddy and sent me to Harvard. I get to Harvard Square, we go into the hall, and there's like 6 professors. My boss was like a super intellectual. I get to 6 professors. They got about 30 books between them. I got no books. And they're all about consumerism and finances. And I'm like, this is going to go bad. I literally went to the back of the room with my buddy. I said, today's the day I'm about to get embarrassed. Today is my day to get embarrassed. There's no way around it. these people got 30 books on this subject matter. I just learned it this morning in the car. This is not going to go well. But I can't run because you know something? I don't back up. I don't know how to back. I got to take my beating. I got to take my lumps. You can't run from your fight. So I go up on the stage. They're all reading and quoting their books. I told them, I said, my mother doesn't have the luxury on a Saturday come out to Harvard Square and talk about how other people spend their money. And we talked about what consumerism is, what it meant on the ground with the people. Said, y'all have the luxury to come out and have a conversation about how other people spend their money. My mother's talking about, do I pay the lights? Do I get medicine? Do I send my kid to camp? So we don't have consumerism problems. We have life problems. And I got up there and I'm hitting them with real conversations about real people. We went to round 2. I was on the panel with the Harvard professor, and he had like 5 books. And I asked him a question. It was a real question. It wasn't scripted. It didn't line up in his research notes. So he started trying to answer the question with his research notes, but it didn't fit. Literally late in the audience, that's not what he asked you. Through his whole day off. I walked out there talking about, okay, I can be here. And you, throughout the times, you learn how to move. Harvard, Henry Louis Gates, the head of Afro-Am, designed a Black encyclopedia. They created an after-school program. They put little Black kids in Chicago in it. They did 1 round, 2 round, 3rd rounds, the kids all disappeared. And they couldn't figure out why. So somebody contacted my boss, because Henry and my boss were friends. They said, well, Dre understands inner city Black kids. Let's bring him out. Maybe he can answer it. So we go out to Harvard Square, walk down Brattle Street, go to this giant house. We go inside. It's mainly white people. They got 1 Black guy to make me feel comfortable. And they start talking. That's how they do it. I peeped game, but I didn't say nothing. So we sit down, and they're telling me all the story about how they brought this professor in and this professor in and this expert in. They can't figure out why the kids stopped coming. And after they told me all what they told me, I said, I got one question. What did the kids say? They said, no, we brought the guy in from Sweden. I said, I heard you. But what did the kids say? No, we brought the guy in from Miami. I understand that. But what did the kids say? Oh, we brought the top, such and such. I said, the only people who know why the kids stopped coming are the kids. And if you don't talk to them, you'll never know. It's all going to be guesswork. And the light bulb goes off. They said, oh, they're not lab rats. We can talk to them. And light bulb goes off. They kick me and my boss out of the room. They said, okay, thanks for coming. Bye. They shove us out. We get outside. I feel good about myself. Yeah, I just showed out at Harvard. My boss turned to me. He said, yo, Andre. I said, what's up? He said, give me $200,000. I said, $200,000 what? He said, $200,000. So what are you talking about? I've been out of jail 6 months. $200,000. He said, you just gave them $200,000 worth of information for some food you didn't like. Respect your knowledge. Oftentimes, people don't respect the stuff that they know. And they think that people above them have the right to take it. So 99% of the times, people walk into a Harvard, they're walking to MIT, they're walking to UPenn, they're walking to the White House or the Pentagon, and they believe that their information is supposed to be taken. No, it's not. If you came up with it, it's your IP. And if it's your IP, you should be paid for it and you should leverage it. Stop letting people, because they have titles, take your IP.
As always, please join Robert and me at ahr3.com. That's Aaron Huey, Robert Raymond Riopel, ahr3.com. Our programs, our events, our support for you as an authority. That's what we have for you there. So please check us out. Huge thanks to Dr. Andre Norman. Thanks to our producer, Dylan, Deepen Productions. Robert, I will see you soon.
Can't wait to see you on the next Extreme Authority.